Today we have Matt Biddle and Rich Vital with GTT to discuss securely connecting people to data and applications. Welcome.
Thanks for having us again. It's great to be in front of everybody from the TDM and Claris crew again. I know we spoke a few months ago, gave you some information, kind of trying to kick this off and want to do a little refresher for you here with the summertime upon us. I know everybody's got vacations, but keep things top of mind for you. So I'm just going to give you a quick little highlight of GTT before I turn it over to Rich, who's going to go over some exciting things here and some things that'll really kind of uh, hopefully give you a lot more ammo when you're out there and what to expect from GTT. So GTT, we are the third largest ISP globally. And we're shooting for number two right now. So that's really nice. And we should hopefully be there by the end of the year if all goes well. But large company, 2,500 plus employees across, I think, 26 countries right now. Clients on every continent. So the way I tell everybody is when you think of GTT, think of us not just for those little onesie twosie sites, because that's not where we're going to fit. But we are really, when you start talking into the multi-location, geographically diverse customer, we should always be considered. And once they mention international, it's going to be difficult to find somebody that can do as well as we can in other markets, as well as price points and just the overall reach. We have 450 pops and growing globally. So whether you need 10 locations domestically, or you've got 5 locations domestically and just one internationally, or multiple international, we should always be considered the moment you hear international. So that's where we're really strong at that point. Um, everything we do everything in house, give your customers the ability to have everything under one umbrella, so that they can just know they only have to make one call if there's an issue, or if they have a question, or if they have a need. They're not juggling multiple carriers.
As Matt mentioned, I know we talked to you guys just a few months ago. So just to quickly review, and he already hit many of these points, right? GTT, what do we do? We're a WAN company. We are in the provider of WAN connectivity, network security, and many of those as managed services. As Matt mentioned, we have the third largest network in the world. So we're a very significant IP backbone provider. We also, if you remember, we have many relationships with many other carriers that allow us to be an easy button for when you're going after those distributed enterprises that he talked about, particularly, worldwide. We have thousands of partners we can bring to the solution table, and we, of course, aggregate all of that. So it's just GTT's project manager, GTT's NOC, GTT's contract, but we have the ability to source all kinds of connectivity of different kinds all around the world. We have NNIs in place with all the major cloud providers. So, in addition to just connecting customer locations together or connecting folks to the internet, we can also connect them with great efficiency worldwide into like an AWS or an Azure or Google Cloud. We provide co-managed SSE and SD-WAN solutions from leading vendors. We talked about all that last time. And we even have a great international SIP trunking offering. So those are all the things we told you about us last time. What we want to do this time is focus a little bit more specifically on the right-hand side, some of the things that we're becoming. And one of those, we did touch on this a little bit last time, is that we have a platform called Envision. And that is a hardware and software platform that allows us to deliver lots of solutions for customers, all the different things we talked about before, and then some. So we're going to take a little closer look at that today, particularly the portal, the Envision DX digital experience piece of Envision. And then I'm going to give you a little preview of some things that we're just launching as we speak. We've just made our initial launch into a hybrid cloud offering. There'll be additional capabilities coming out throughout the rest of the year. And we also have some really neat stuff going on the security side that I'm going to tell you a little bit about as well. So I showed this slide to you last time when I talked about Envision. And if you look at that diagram a little bit, at the center of it, you see Envision Core. That is referring to the software platform enablement of our core network for solutions, where we can deploy solutions components there. SD-WAN, we can deploy security, we can deploy routing, WAN optimization, all those kinds of things in dedicated client instances wherever we need to. And last time I told you also about the Envision Edge. That's the optional universal CPE component that we can deploy at a customer location. That's the GTT branded device you see down at the bottom of the screen in the center. There are actually t-shirt size boxes for that. That gives us a similar software enablement capability at the customer edge, where we can deploy in software things like a Palo Alto firewall or a Fortinet firewall or an Aruba SD-WAN or Palo SD-WAN or any combination of these things. Anything as basic as a simple monitoring bridge all the way up to full-blown service chaining of those more advanced security and networking features. All deployable there. And then all of that goodness is wrapped up and generally shared with our customers and partners through our portal, the digital experience piece, which we call Envision DX. And last time I probably referred you to that little tiny screen in the lower right-hand corner and said, that's what our portal looks like. Well, what I'd like to do today is tell you more about that portal and actually show you some of its capabilities and just kind of walk you through it. And I want to start that by highlighting, I think, at the very last bullet on this slide at the very bottom talks about a comprehensive portal. So our goal with Envision DX is really to provide a programmatic and visual and convenient way for partners and customers to interact with us in all the ways that they need to. So it's really attempting to be that proverbial single pane of glass that covers all aspects of the relationship, from the very first quotation of a service to placing orders and then being able to track and manage those orders as they progress. So during the project management and rollout phases, it has a bunch of features relative to services in production. So for folks who are responsible for keeping the network up and working well, having that kind of reporting and visibility, troubleshooting status, trouble ticketing, commercial stuff. So as I mentioned, quoting and ordering, invoicing can all be done through here. Tons of documentation, co-management of features, all are done through this portal. So it's a pretty powerful part of our offering. And again, that's what I want to mostly focus on today. So here we are in Envision DX at the home screen, the dashboard screen. And this is probably as good a time as any to mention that everything that you see here is extremely customizable. It is a widget-based environment where widgets can be graphical, widgets can be simple summarization, like this account summary one here. They can be tables. You can have information almost in spreadsheet-like tables, orders and services and things like that. All sorts of different kinds of widgets. There's many that can be created. You can see this particular demo account probably has 50 of them, but this default one is a nice one to start with because it really does highlight some of what I talked about before, which is the single pane of glass. So I can, in this account summary, for instance, in this demo account, I can see that I have 83 active services. Those are meaning they're in production and billing. I have 2 trouble tickets. I have a change request that's open being worked. I have no planned maintenances. I have 42 orders that are open in various states of delivery under a project. So, that, as I mentioned, you can go in and look at things even before they're deployed. If my job is at the partner, at the customer project management or overseeing any of that, what I can see here in Envision DX is literally a window into the single source of truth for everything that we do at GTT. So this isn't some separate system that has its own database that gets replicated once a day and hopefully doesn't get out of sync. This is really built over the same sources of data that we run our business on. So when you see a particular order in this table and you select that order, for instance, what you're seeing is the actual order as it appears in our systems with all the details, all the contact information, all the handoff types, IP addresses, all of those little details, copper or fiber, single mode or multi-mode, DMARC extension or not, the contact info at the site, all the little kinds of things that it would be great if you could find all that information conveniently. You can. It's all visible here for every single order that's going. You can also go in and look at, for instance, active services. So the only difference here is these services are actually up and running. So there's additional visibility beyond just, the basic things. So for instance, here, if I select a particular order that's in production, a particular service in production. I still see all the same order details and all of that, but I also have tabs like this performance metrics tab. And when I select that tab, now I go in and I get a real-time view of actually what's going on with that service. In this case, we have one of our Envision Edge devices there. So all of its interfaces are spelled out. I can quickly, select particular interfaces in the design. I can generate graphs of utilization or packet loss or latency. I can do this per day, per week, per month, over any period of interest that I have. I can easily export everything that I see in here as CSV or as Excel files or as graphics in the case of a chart. I can even see things like this particular service actually also has a wireless component. There's a 5G component of this particular site, and I can see things like signal strength. I can literally look at the radio signal strength of that particular modem in that particular environment. So it's a tremendous amount of visibility into what's going on at all the different locations. In fact, for those who care about and are responsible for things like that, we have other nice visualizations too, like a knock map, right? So this particular account, this particular customer could see all of the different locations they have color coded on a map. If they wanted to have a look at what's going on in Amsterdam, they could easily drill in and select a particular location, open up a particular device, and get similar kinds of information on what's going on there. As I mentioned, all the things, trouble ticketing, change requests, dispatches, plan maintenances, those are all manageable through here. You can quote new services. You can, request quotes of different kinds of services here. You can co-manage services. So as I mentioned, we have co-managed services with our SD-WAN and with our security. This is a nice example of where the Envision DX provides a curated experience for our clients and our partners that can add value on top of whatever the basic underlying vendor is. If you may recall, we told you last time that we offer SD-WAN with 3 different vendors. We have a Palo Alto flavor, a Fortinet flavor, and one from HPE Aruba, Silver Peak. This is a great example of a dashboard called the SD-WAN Insights dashboard, where we aggregate information from all those different vendor platforms and we present one uniform view to our clients. So things like, what is my top talking application? What are my top sources geographically or domains and all of that. Nice general information that anybody might want to see for any SD-WAN. And then also through other links that are available, depending on what our customer has, you can also, through a single sign-on, pass through into a vendor-specific portal like Strata Cloud Manager for Palo or Forta Manager for Fortinet, where then you can get down into the nitty-gritty and you can have visibility and the ability to make configuration changes down at the finest level for those who need to be able to do that. That actually is a good point. I should mention that all of this functionality is also managed through a set of role-based access. So when we activate a client in Envision DX, we activate an admin, and part of that admin's capability is to add additional users from that enterprise and then to give them different roles. So, a finance person doesn't need to be in here messing around with security policies or SD-WAN policies. But then again, a network engineer really doesn't need to deal with invoices and probably shouldn't be, submitting disputes or things like that. So, there's really an intent to be able to, through that role-based access, provide the right experience for different folks at the customer. And the partner, typically what a customer will do once we enroll them in the portal, through an LOA process, we will also enroll the partner so that they have the ability to see what this customer sees. There's a little drop down here, for instance, you can see it says select a customer if you're able to read that font. And under there, in this case, this is kind of the view that a partner would have who has 4 or 5 different clients with GTT. They can choose to show all, where they look across all of their different customers, or they can choose a particular customer and then all of the things update and they see exactly what that customer would see when they go into the demo. Let's see, what else do I want to show you here? Even things like voice, I mentioned before, our SIP trunking, there are reports just on that, being able to come in look at a particular set of SIP trunks and see, how does it look from a capacity perspective. I can generate a report here, and I know that's probably not super easy to see, but it shows that I have provisioned this SIP trunk for 200 simultaneous calls, but on any given day, I probably am never really in the busy hour going more than maybe 30. So a little bit of over engineering on this one. As I mentioned, billing can be handled in here. There's a whole reporting center. There are general reports like SLA reports and MTTR reports, which just look at all the different sites and the status of all that. But there's a reporting center also, and depending on what services I have, I can create a report. Here are some SD-WAN reports on gateway latency and packet loss. Here's some general network reports, jitter, utilization, quality of experience, CPE reports, and so forth. I can choose a particular report type. Then I can select the particular sites that I want to be in that report. I can select different date ranges or time horizons, like a daily, a weekly, a monthly report. I can create it, and then once I've created it, I can ask InVisionDX to automatically run it for me. Maybe every week. Maybe I want to see a capacity report once a month. So there's a lot of automation capability in here. And then, as I mentioned before, also a lot of ability in customizing what you see. So even in things like this active service table, there's a choice here, select the columns to display in this grid. So I see a bunch of columns of information here, but actually there are many more columns available behind this. These are all the columns that are available in our back office systems. So you can choose which fields you want to see. You can reorder the fields in an order that you like. So it makes it really easy, and then you can again export them into different views. Here, again, I can have them all the columns. I can filter them. I can take it out as Excel or CSV, all to make it really easy for our partners and our customers to get the data they need, to be able to get the data in a format that is useful for them so that they can do stuff with it. Even information like on our network generically. We have lots of real-time statistics and capabilities that we can expose through this portal. So this one actually looks at our backbone pop-to-pop performance worldwide in real time everywhere. So, if a customer is utilizing GTT as their SD-WAN provider, and maybe they have locations around the world, and they're curious about how things are going, in the India connection, and they can select a market like Chennai, and now I can quickly see in this table the round trip delay between our Chennai POP and other metro areas all around the world in real time. That kind of information is provided. Our latency into the different on-ramp locations for different cloud providers. Lots of little details provided here. And then a lot of just general customer resources too. We've been working on this portal for a long time. We follow an agile development process, and we get lots of good suggestions from our clients and from our partners. And one of them was, you really ought to have a nice repository for documents, because somebody's going to want to know, where's the user guide for this portal? Well, it's here. Where are the service definitions for the products I have from GTT that explain what GTT is responsible for and what I'm responsible for? Where are the service schedules that explain the SLAs and any penalties and how they work? All of that stuff is here, always the latest version, always accurate. Even information, specific to an account, like, what's my account team? Who's my account manager again? And what's her phone number? Well, there it is. Monica's number is right here. Here's her email address. Who are my NOC contacts? What number am I supposed to call for NOC service if I want to call? What are the escalations lists? Who are the different people? You'll see actual names of managers here. You'll see actual telephone numbers and email addresses for different levels of escalation. So when you need to go get information or do anything with us, our goal is to really have this particular portal be the place where you can go for everything. And the last thing I want to mention about it is that we've been working on a really cool new quoting engine. I didn't show you the old one because the old one is kind of a little bit mundane in the sense that, it's sort of, you fill out a form for what kind of service you're looking for, and then we can quote it for you. The new one is really, really cool. It uses a lot of AI assist and a lot of parallel processing to make it really easy for our customers to enter single site or many site opportunities and templatize those different site types and create and express all the different things they might need in terms of diversity, types of services they want to run. Addresses are automatically validated. Business logic is automatically applied to know if you need service X, then you need a certain piece of equipment. And if you have these bandwidths, the right piece of equipment for that amount of capacity is this model, and it requires these licenses and these kitted parts for the optics and all those wonderful things that it does automatically as you build these quotes out. And so our goal, as we release that out later this year into the wild, is to make it easier than ever for our customers and our partners especially to be able to do some degree of self-service and certainly get to revenue much more quickly with us, so that they can put information in and get it together and then reach out to their support people like Matt and say, hey, I put in a 200 site opportunity. Let's get that in front of your deal desk team and let's get our best pricing and let's tweak it and let's get this in front of the customer in the form of a professional proposal. A lot of those steps now have become more and more automated than ever before. So we're trying to make it much easier for us to serve our partners and eventually serving our customers too. So that, I would say, in a quick summary format, is what's going on with Envision DX. Watch this space because we're constantly innovating here. We've got a lot of cool new things coming out. Maybe sometime soon we'll be able to come back and refresh this demo for you and show you what some of those are. I want to say something about Envision. A lot of what we've done with Envision so far is to really create the products and services in our portfolio that we've been selling for a while. So all of our WAN products, our security products, SD-WAN from all of our different vendors, advanced firewalling and security from all of our vendors, basic networking, monitoring, proactive management, all that kind of stuff. But the Envision platform is capable of so much more than just those particular services. And so what we're really leaning into now is rolling out some new capabilities that are actually new categories for GTT, things that we haven't done in the past before, but this architecture is really, really conducive to doing them, and we're super excited to be able to introduce these things into our portfolio. And the first of these is actually relating to a hybrid cloud offering. So, for the technical folks in the audience today, when I talked about Envision Edge and Envision Core of being compute and storage resources, I didn't go into all the details of the hypervisors that run there and all that, but ultimately, these are essentially cloud assets that we're using today to deploy, our traditional portfolio of WAN connectivity and security services. But they also are capable of running other kinds of workloads, customer workloads, for instance. And so in a lot of ways, this network that we've created can actually become part of the cloud estate of customers. And I'm sure all of you are well aware that the pendulum has been swinging back from public cloud as folks embraced it. They pushed many, many, many workloads out and realized that their costs were kind of out of control. They were maybe paying for flexibility for certain applications that they actually didn't really need. And so the repatriation of many workloads has been happening for cost reasons, for data sovereignty reasons, a lot of other reasons too. And so GTT customers who are on the Envision platform are candidates for a hybrid cloud offering that utilizes these components. And what it means is at the edge, we have the ability to deploy customer workloads that run right at the premises. So, you could think of AI or Internet of Things kinds of applications where super low latency, super high, rapid response kinds of needs that could require compute and storage right out at the edge can be run there. Our core, our 450 some POPs around the world are all candidate locations to host workloads that may be closer to a region or to a customer location than going into the hyperscaler environment. Again, data sovereignty reasons, we have a very nice high density of POPs throughout Europe, for example, for those who do business there. Data sovereignty is a significant challenge sometimes we have the ability to utilize these components as well as our Cloud Connect into the public cloud environments of AWS, Azure, Google, and Oracle, and the like. So the eventual offering will include tools that allow customers to actually move workloads across all of that. So they can be in the public cloud, they can be in our core, they can be at our edge, or any combination of those things. So we're pretty excited about that one. And then the second thing I want to mention is I think last time I talked a little bit about our relationship with NVIDIA. And I guess the key thing there is really all about AI and what we're doing with AI. And we've invested into deploying AI into our network, into our backbone. And we, in the process, for the last couple of years now, have been ingesting information across our worldwide network, all of our managed services, infrastructure. And we have discovered that there were holes in our visibility in terms of what we were able to detect in terms of security incidents, other things that needed to be investigated, other things that needed to be correlated, that the state of the art of where we are, was behind where we needed to be. And so we're pretty excited about that. We're pretty excited about what we can do with this AI technology. So we've created a prototype product. We call it the Defense Halo. And we have been running it on our own enterprise now for about a year, I guess. And we've recently begun working with some particular enterprise clients to extend the capability to them. And what it really does is it utilizes AI technology to analyze all of their network behaviors, all of the different hosts, all of the communications that they do, all of the different security elements in the network. It's knowledgeable about all the different firewalls and all the different CVEs that associate with firewalls and patches and things like that. So it really monitors the entire estate, forms a baseline of what normal looks like, and then continuously monitors and scales and scores basically how the network is performing. And when things need to be investigated, it points them out. And it does this at machine speed at the network level, which is what's a little bit different than what others are doing. I mean, the network in a lot of ways is kind of like the circulatory system of an enterprise, right? So just like you can go to a doctor and get a blood test and find that something doesn't look right, being able to monitor the network is actual real time. You can see exactly what's going on. If a host starts doing something it didn't do before or shouldn't be doing, you notice it right away. You have the ability to quickly identify things that you don't have to go through the standard SIM process, the standard XDR process to try to pour through these things and find it. It operates much faster than that. It is able to do things much more quickly than that. So we have even some cool intellectual property behind this. So we're excited about this one. We're going to be making our first introduction with this one in the fall. And then we will definitely have some new things at the beginning of next year to talk about as well.
Have you found it successful to lead with Envision CX instead of a network discussion?
Yes, absolutely. It's a different discussion, really. It shifts away. The network discussions today are no longer separate from security. They're no longer separate from, an overall cloud architecture. So if we're having an Envision discussion, we're having a discussion with a broader audience at the enterprise about, the architecture of the enterprise IT environment, not just a circuit discussion. When we talk just about network, we often find ourselves marginalized into just a circuit commodity kind of discussion. So yes, we love to talk about Envision. It's a big part of our investment. It's part of our differentiation. It is the monetization of years of cumulative investment in our network and our capabilities. So yes, we talk about that as much as we can.
All right. And if every TDM advisor remembered only three things about GTT, what would they be?
Yeah, so I think the three things I would say are, we have a massive network. So anytime you need a global network, think GTT. we have all of those relationships with other carriers. So not only do we have a network ourselves, but we can solve all of the last mile needs of a solution as well. And then we have innovation, the innovation that we've done with the Envision platform. So our network isn't just a passive network that we happen to use as part of a solution. It's an active part of the solutions we deliver, and it allows us to offer all sorts of advantages to our partners and our customers.
What opportunities are advisors missing today?
I think for a lot of advisors, they go in and they're always brought in to kind of, hey, give us a network. Here's what we need. And then they're kind of left shooting for, hey, what's the cheapest we can do this for? And that's usually because of the customer. Customers a lot of times cost conscious, and they tend to leave off the additional components, whether it's SASE, whether it's security, whether it's some other type of hybrid cloud, that they just kind of leave out there because they're like, if this is just a price discussion, these aren't going to be something we need to talk about. But once you start diving into those with those customers, what's driving their decision to make a change, that's where they can start opening it up. I mean, it's always asking more questions, and I think everybody knows how to do that, and everybody does do that. But it's always just ask more questions. All right, why is this what you're after? Why do you want to do it this way? And always just kind of lead them into the next thing and let them kind of think about it for a second versus be like, all right, well, we just want this quote. Okay, well, we'll get you that quote. Trying to open up that door a little bit more.
What differentiates GTT from other global network providers?
Hmm. So most people still think of GTT as just an aggregator, and while yes, technically we are because we have access to almost all of the vendors that exist out there, at least a large majority of them. It's really, we run our own network, so we have a lot more control, stability, visibility, security built into that versus just doing a resale network, then monitoring it with a portal. We can actually have a lot more control at the end of the day for that customer, so they know, all right, hey, we need to know about this, or we need to make these changes. The agility that comes with that versus having to rely, just go into the provider and be like, hey, we need this. And all right, which carrier is this? Then they have to figure that out and get that taken care of, where we can control a lot more of that. That really sets us apart as we work to innovate on our network every day.
Yeah, and I would add too, for those who are looking at that question from the lens of, okay, well then what about other big network providers? How would you compare yourself to Lumen, let's say, or someone like that? And I think the answer there is that we have a completely homogeneous network. So when I talk about us being able to do something at any one of our 450 odd POPs, I mean any one of them. They're all built the same way. They're all on the same blueprint. Our capabilities are truly worldwide. The marketing of a company like Lumen looks great. You see a map, it looks like they have something everywhere. But when you kick the tires, you find out, and I know this because I worked there and I worked at a lot of our competitors. It's a challenge, for some of these older companies who bought a bunch of companies. They have a patchwork quilt of networks that don't really all work together. GTT has a really, really nice homogeneous solution where we can do the things we say we can do everywhere it's legal to do them. If we're not doing them, it's because it's in an embargoed country like Russia or something like that, North Korea. Anywhere else, all of these services are available.